Death Note, Chapter 21, Duplicity. Ha ha, me kidder. When I say I suspect you, I'm actually talking about the fact of 1%. What I'm really hoping for is from 100% certain that A, you aren't killer, and B, you have a brilliant power of deduction so that I can ask you to help us with the investigation. 1%, huh? That's a smart way of putting it. If he says I'm a suspect, even if it's only 1%, there goes my freedom. Since it isn't 0%, if I ask me with the task force, he'll have to refuse to talk about a preemptive move. He caught me. Anyway, there are too many people around to talk about the kidder case. Let's go somewhere we can have privacy. Yeah, I think tennis match has increased our notoriety around here. What do you mean you can't tell me? I beg your pardon, sir, but L's orders are nobody outside the task force, even yourself, sir. Not even the account for where you are, or what you're doing, or why there's never more than one person in the task force office. I'm very sorry, sir. Well then, what about this? Someone has to come up to my daughter saying L. Mogi, maybe? Is my daughter a suspect? I cannot answer that question. And I request that you keep secret the fact that someone calling himself L approached your daughter. But please set your mind at rest, sir. It isn't quite the case that your daughter is under suspicion. That much I could quite positively tell you. If anyone is truly a suspect in this case, it's my son. Please forget that you heard that. Yagami, it's already been over 4 months since this case first came to light. The people are saying that the police are incompetent, that L is incompetent. With due respect, sir, the police are so scared of Kida, they've run from the case with their tail between their legs. Could anybody call that competent? You know very well how many detectives I have left in the task force, so if you're so concerned about what the papers say, then please make damn sure they don't find out that most of our officers on this case have jumped ship. If you will excuse me now, sir. Yagami, yes, sir. What about L? Can we trust him? He certainly is more competent than we are. Yes, we can trust him. As we speak, he is out there risking his life to solve this case. This is one of my favorite coffee shops. If you sit back here, in the back, nobody can hear what you're talking about. You picked the perfect place, please. Yeah. For one thing, back here, nobody's going to stare at you for sitting like that. True. I can't sit any other way than this. If I sit any other way, my reasoning abilities drops 40%. So Yagami-kun, what do you want to ask me? Back mind told you positive I'm not Kira, so go ahead and start with Yuga. In this case, I don't mean to be rude, but can I test your reasoning? Sure, it sounds like fun. Test my reasoning abilities. My ass. He's testing me to see if I say anything only Kira can know. But if I claim up afraid of letting something slip, does that make me Kira too? Well, to earn some points for later, I need to show him that I do have some powers of deduction. This way, things stand. He has no proof that I'm Kida. I have no way of proving that I'm not. I need him to make me trust, so I can work my way to the surface. I'll be fine. I know what's been reported and what hasn't. I've gone over it about 1,000 times. Does the fact that I told you I'll tell you anything? Let me see. It indicates that you have some hopes that I can help you solve the case. That you deduced that even if you tell someone who may be killed that you are well, you won't be killed, or that you've taken some steps to ensure that you can't be killed. And that means although The other person has only said that Kira needs to know what someone looks like to kill. Then maybe he needs something else about it. In which case, something else could be their name. I draw this conclusion from the fact that while L would always use an alias, anyone you made a point of calling yourself Hideki Ryuga, someone whose name and face are already known practically everywhere to everyone in Japan. Correct. You're saying I'm right just like that. Why should I hide the fact that you're right? And the probability that you're really L is extremely low. Why is that? If I was L, I would reason that it's enough to have another person approach someone I suspect and maybe kill it. Tell them that I'm L. The real L needs to stay someplace safe at all times. Even when he's using the police, he needs to do that from the shadows out of view. I see, you're right, that I didn't call himself L puts himself in danger, and why would he come out into the open now when he's never shown himself before? It would be stupid for the real L to do such a thing. He seems pretty interested, but he's faking, right? Still, I actually have to think you really might be L, Ryuga, meaning, well, most people probably imagine L to be a lot older than you or more detective-like somehow. You're too out of character to be a convincing fake, so you must be the real L. And what are the odds that L took that into account in choosing me? Since it's L we're talking about, I guess there's a good chance of that when you start second guessing a third guess, and third guessing like this, it's endless. I have to admit, I'm getting pretty confused. There's the list of the 12 FBI agents who were murdered by Kira with the order in which they received the file. In which they died. And the 3 photographs show notes written by the prisoner shortly after they died, I believe, in Kira under Kira's control. Do you think showing me this is gonna make me pale or something? First, please take a look at the FBI agent list. Does it tell you anything? Let's see. He doesn't give Kira much credit. Is the kid he envisions stupid enough to fall for something like this? Ryuga, what's this file you said they received? If I don't know that, there's no way I can make sense of this. Sorry, there's a file containing names and photographs of all types of players, so they each could know others the day that they received the file. They all died. In the case that Kira needs to know what people look like and maybe also their names. This file contained both names and photos, and the very same day the agents received the file, they all died. So there's a possibility that Kira used these files to kill them. Oh, what? Alright, what about these notes? These 3 notes are very interesting. Jeez, this kid stuff. These photos have print numbers on the back. If I didn't notice that and came up with L, did you know gods of death love apples? That would mean I'm probably Kira, but I did notice. So this one's mine. If it is true that Kira can kill people after all their actions, that's pretty amazing. It looks to me like he could dissociate these notes actually because they contain a hidden taunt to L. If you take the first word of every line in sentence, or rather question it, because that order sentence would be L, do you know gods of death love apples? But the back of the photos have print numbers on them. If you put in that order, the message reads L, do you know love apples, gods of death. That doesn't make much sense, so I find it hard to believe that someone wanted to read like that. Incorrect. In fact, there's a fourth note. a fourth note. Throughout this follow method, you know, L, do you know gods of death who have gods of death who love apples have red hands? It's got through. What does he think by showing me this bogus note? Is he just fooling with me? Okay, but if there was only 3 notes, my reasoning flawless. No, because in fact, there were 4 notes which should have made your reasoning flawless. I think I'm correct to deducing that you decided there were only 3 notes, Yagamikon, and therefore could not interfere. Not infer there might be a 4th. Damn. I get it, he doesn't want to see how smart I am. He wants to see my reaction. Kira knows there was no 4th note, so he'd find this whole thing ridiculous or get pissed off. So if I insist on my version, he'll only be more convinced it's me. Stay cool. I'm his main aim was to have me come up with L, do you know gods of death of apples without noticing the print numbers. So I decided there were only 3 notes in just a way to challenging me. It's got nothing to do with determining if I'm Kira, G or I didn't think of that. But still, either way, I don't think these notes will help you find Kira. I mean, Shinigami don't exist. He didn't fall for the file or the print numbers, but if he is Kira, he'll be watching out for more tricks from now on. He won't talk much anymore. Alright, now let's suppose you're L. If I came face to face with someone who might be Kira, how would you try to determine if he was? I try to make him say things that haven't been broadcast, haven't been reported in the news. Things only Kira would know, just like you're doing now. Do you get very good? I've already asked the same question to a number of detectives, but most of them took a few minutes to think about it. When they finally came up with an answer, it was usually something silly like bring out a well-known criminal and watch from a hidden location if they kill him or not. But you, Yagami-kun, were instantly able to think about it from the perspective of Kira talking to an investigator. I have to say, you're quite brilliant. Look at him, all satisfied with himself. Does he think he set me up or something? You make it sound like if we do too well, I'm under even more suspicion. Indeed, now it's up to 3%. However, it's also increased my desire to have you help us with the investigation. To tell you the truth, you guessed correctly earlier at that present. I am not only the one who's going to call himself L. This joker thinks he'll come right out and say something like that. It turns out to be nothing more than L. Rain, boy, there's practically no point talking to him. My position is that even if you are a kid, I'd like to help you in the investigation. Do you understand my logic? If I help the investigation, might move forward. At the same time, if I'm Kira, I might slip up and betray myself. In other words, you can't kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I think it's a great idea. Hey, Light, looks to me like he's got you up against the wall. Isn't this like this isn't like you, buddy? I don't know for sure that he isn't L, but if this guy is just some proxy who works for L and doesn't even drop by the task force office, I have to stop talking to him immediately. I think you've got me all wrong. While true, I'm very interested in the Kira case. Helping with it solved. I am not Kira, and I sure as hell don't want to get killed. I'm not going to help someone I can't even trust and end up getting murdered by Kira. I'd rather think about the case on my own. Anyway, you can't prove to me that you aren't Kira either. So you and I are in the same position. Basically, think about it from my perspective. You can't get questioning from me, but I also can't question you. Anybody looks at us, all they see is 2 college students. In fact, most people would say that you're more likely to be killer than me. Neither of us can prove we aren't killer, but if you are L or Yuga, you ought to prove that. I'm not. I'm talking about having someone I could trust, for example, in the task force, or my father, tell me straight out that you are L, or at the very least, part of this investigation. If you say you can't do that, until I've proved then that I'm not killer, then I can't work with you on this basis. Boy, lad of me sure likes to talk a lot. He's a classic example of someone who hates to lose. It's up to 7%. Maybe he really is. I never said once I wouldn't let you meet members of the task force. I'm working directly with your father and the rest of the task force right now. And correct, I am understanding that if I take the task force, you'll help us investigate. Well, what the hell is this guy thinking to be? Excuse me. If he's lucky we have an emergency, what's the emergency? Mr. Yagami has collapsed. Now it's mine. Lie, it's your father. Yagami, your father. He had a heart attack. Kira.